I'm Dr. Clyde Posley, and I'm your host of Moves That Matter. I'm glad to have you here again. We have a fantastic show set up for you. And let me just take this opportunity to thank all of you, all of my viewers from wherever you're viewing from. I appreciate the shares that you put up. I'm asking you, I'm believing God for something extraordinary today. And that's what great faith does. I'm asking you to help me get 50 shares. I'm asking you to help me get 50 shares. I want you to hit the share button, but I want you to help me get to the number of 50 shares. And in Jesus' name, I'm believing that today for 50 shares of this Moves That Matter broadcast. Now, I want to remind you that you can get the Moves That Matter broadcast on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. You can get it on YouTube. You can get it on my website, drclydeposley.com. You can get it on my Facebook page at clydeposley.com. You can get it on my Facebook page, drclydeposley.com, PhD, Dr. Clyde Posley, PhD. You can get the show. I'm up on Twitter. I'm up on Instagram. But more than anything, I want you to participate in what I believe is a blessed show. I'm not claiming that my show is the best. My podcast is the best show on. But what I am telling you is that we are bringing some things that are pertinent, from health issues to theological issues to socio-political issues, socio-economic issues. But more than that, we are talking about what the kingdom of God can do to make your life what God wants it to be. I have a guest who is coming back for part 2 today of a fantastic show about the power of redemption and a second chance. You do not want to miss this show. God bless you. I'll be right back, and we're going to dive right into this powerful time on the Moves That Matter show. Hi, we're back. And once again, I want to welcome Mr. Alphonso Wright back to our studio today. He is the owner and operator of Al's Modern Clothing and Shoesing here in the Castleton area in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we're delighted to have him. Last week, he talked to us about a great part of his redemption story and how the power of God came into his life. We're going to kind of pick up there and in just a moment. But I want to have you, Al, again, welcome. Kind of tell the people, about Al's Modern Clothing and Shoes store there in Castleton, where it's located, what the address is, and what you specialize in.
Well, I'm located at 6036 East 82nd Street, like you said, in the Castleton area here in Indianapolis. And more of I've kind of more or less specialized in upscale men's clothing and shoes. So if you get a chance, stop by and see me, and I would love to be your personal clothier.
What are some of the brands? It's not easy. I wear a size 14 shoe, and it's not easy for me to get the type of shoe that I want to wear. Often people think that you're trying to be, bougie or whatever. But I have to, as you know, I've been a customer of yours for 30 years. I have to get a shoe that costs more than the average shoe. Yeah. Some kind of brands. I know I dominantly wear Mezzalons. But what are some of the shoe brands that you have?
Well, I carry a lot of the Mezzalons are made in Spain. I carry Italian-made shoes also, Emilio Franco's, and then I carry a lot of other domestic shoes as well. But Mezzalons, my Emilio Franco's are pretty much, as far as my high end, they are the top of the line.
And you can get skins.
I carry right now. Oh yeah, because Mezzalons, anything a person pretty much would want, I actually can get. But you just try to get what you feel like the people want. You know what I mean? Right. And with me, you got to find your niche. And I think I'm finding my niche here. But because I've had a business here previously for 17 years, I already had established a customer base. So I kind of had an idea of the things that I actually should get.
So I see. I'm in the store often, and I see various styles being worn in the store, from the young, more hip hop age to the black tie. You have access to custom suits and suits off the rack. Some in the less than $200 range or in the $200 range, but some that are high enders. That's what I like about the store.
Okay.
My sons, one of my sons is just getting into fashion and executive business clothes. and but he still likes the younger, modern look that's not business dress. And so both my sons who are committed to fashion are able to shop at the store. Yeah. So it's great, and it's not just an urban store. Right. You know, it's a high end store that meets the needs of all who enter the doors.
Exactly, and I appreciate that, Pastor. As a matter of fact, your son Joshua was just in just the other day, and he got a few suits and a few ties from me, and I was getting ready to actually wear one of the ties that I had sold Joshua. I was like, no, I'm not going to wear this one because you know. But it's you try to make it to where you're going to be able to please, you know, at least 90% of your customers. You never can please 100% of nothing. That's you know what I mean? But you want to,
Pastor, I know that.
You know, but you want to try to make it to where you can be pleased. So you have people come in and ask for some things you may not have. You know, and then you have to sit and say to yourself, okay, now if I was to actually get this, how many other people is probably going to want it? So that's a decision that you have to make as a business owner, because you don't want to have it where you got 10 or 11 things just sitting around. You ordered 12 and now you only sold one, and the other 10 are sitting around for another year. Right. If you do that with 8 or 9 items, you pretty much are going to be out of business.
That's true.
You have to really be like a forecaster.
That is true.
Yeah.
You know, I brought up another reason I brought up the shoes is because, you know, a person, his name, he's gone on to be with the Lord now. He's in paradise now. His name is Dr. A.L. Kane. He talked to me about dressing early, a lot in my early years. Okay. And he talked to me about while many men who are into haberdashery or into dressing well think it's just the suit and the tie. But most people, he said, when they look at you, they look at your haircut and they look at your shoes. Yes. And so that's one of the reasons I wear mezzalines, because if I don't have time to run in and get a bunch of shines, the type of mezzaline that I wear looks like it's been shined. You know, every day. I have on some today. Yes. And they look like, so when I'm busy, I still have that shine. That's just a tip that he gave me, and it proved to be true.
And you're so right. You know, I got obviously a lot of mezzalines, and you really don't have to worry about shining them and all those kind of things all the time, because they use such a good grade of leather.
That's right.
And that's why they do cost a little bit more. Right. But it's a good shoe, you know. So it's definitely is one of my favorites.
Right. Yeah. Very good. Listen, so let's dive back into you know, what challenges you know, if you want to touch on just briefly for those who may not have been tuned in last week, some of the challenges that turned into turning points for you in your life.
With me, I think what really started to make a change was really me getting myself in the situation I was in as far as you know, getting locked up.
How long ago was that?
That was in '89.
Right.
You know, so it was quite some time ago.
Right.
But what I can remember, even with that, you know, in '88 when I found out that I was, you know, going to be going and everything else, I went to my counselor and asked my counselor, what class can I take, or what major can I switch to? After being at school already 4.5 years anyway. What major can I switch to so I can graduate by mid-semester? Because I knew a month, 5 days later, I knew that January I was going to go be locked up, January 29th. So I graduated a month and 5 days, actually before I was locked up. But before that happened, when I knew I was getting ready to go in, what I started doing in 1988 is I started working out. And so now I work out still. Now I run 3 to 5 miles a week, you know, 3 to 5 miles, three to 5 times a week, you know, and that all started, and lift weights, but that all started in 1988 because of me knowing that I was getting ready to go into a tough situation, watching all the movies, never been in a cop car, had never been in any kind of trouble.
How old were you this time?
I was 18, no, 19,
you were preparing yourself for what you...
I was preparing myself because I said, you know, when you hear about penitentiary, you think the worst. So I
was You don't know.
So I, like I said, I've never been in a cop car. I've never been in any kind of trouble.
Right.
So I got to lifting weights. So I said, I got to get some size. So somebody want to try me, I can protect myself, you know. But that became a habit. You know, now that's what I do still to this day, 30 years. But that started because of me actually getting ready to go into penitentiary. Then once I was there, and even once I was there, that's when I really, truly made my mind up. After just sitting around for a few months, I was like, no, what am I going to do when I get out of here? And that's when I said,
because I'm getting out.
I'm getting out.
I'm making it through this.
And that's why I said, I'm going to go ahead and do what my dad said he was going to do for me as far as pursuing my own business. And so that kind of just really gave me a little bit of a push. You know, even though it was a bad situation, it pushed me in the area to what I'm doing now it pushed me there.
Well, I'm going to bring up something that that most people don't know. I just know it because we're friends, and somebody needs to hear this. So you did graduate,
yes,
but the graduation went on while you were incarcerated.
Exactly.
Yes. Tell them about Al's graduation.
Well, I was just at a camp, and
if you don't mind,
yes.
tell the audience who may not have heard how this whole incarceration process 30 years ago happened, what it was for, because somebody listening to me has a similar story, but they have quit. They've assumed that their record dictates who they are. Kind of
Right.
tell them, if you will, and then tell them about your graduation.
Okay, well, first of all, you just don't let nothing hold you back, man. Right. You know what I mean? People go through things in life, and especially us as blacks, we have a tendency to say, and I don't say this, but I've heard it, the white man hold me back. No, you hold yourself back.
Right.
Don't nobody hold you back,
Right.
but yourself.
Yeah.
So no matter what
It was your decision.
Yes.
Right.
So what you got to do is you just got to make your mind up on what you're going to do, and then just go for it. Really, it's that
Right.
simple. But you have to be realistic. See, a lot of times people will sit back and they're not realistic with their goals. I was around the clothing industry. I got to know the clothing industry. So for me to want to have a business or whatever, that's being realistic. But what would have been unrealistic for me to say, oh, I'm in Indianapolis, I'm gonna be an Indy 500 race car driver. No, I didn't drive go-karts when I was younger.
Right.
I don't know about all that. So that would be unrealistic for me. So you just got to find something that's realistic for you,
Right.
that you can love or even grow to love, and then pursue it and walk in that direction, and then it'll happen.
Let me ask you this. Without being specific, we've had some conversation about this. Without being specific, bring anybody else into it. Talk to us. Talk to my audience about how a young man could be intelligent enough to have gone through 4 years of college, but then be tempted with what the world has to offer to sell drugs. We don't have to get into any specific
Right.
reasons
Well,
why,
I think with a lot of times when it comes to doing something such as that, is people make excuses for themselves on why they got to do something. So, and then they'll make excuse on why you got to do something that's wrong to bring you money or what have you, and it's an excuse.
It's just an excuse.
And you
It still
shouldn't.
was a decision.
Right. It still was a decision, and that same energy that you're going to use to go do something wrong, take that energy and use it to do something right, and you still will be fine. I went through that, and I'm where I'm at now. Do I wish it could have been different? I'm not going to sit up and say I'm glad I went to penitentiary. No, I'm not. But at the same time, with me being dealt that hand in my life and that I put up on myself, I just made the best of the situation and just believe in yourself, have faith, put God first, and
then there's life after.
Exactly.
Right.
There's life after. It's one thing if you go and they say you got 100 years, you ain't getting out.
Right.
But if you're getting out, if you back out, you can.
That's right.
You can make some things happen.
That's right.
And I'm not the only one. There's
right.
many of people.
If a young man is in that camera and he's saying, "Yeah, that's your story, but I've had so much stuff, happen to me, man, ain't no second chance for me." Look into that camera and tell him why you think there's a chance for him as well.
There's a chance for you, and I'm gonna tell you something. I got one of my favorite authors who I read, Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, awesome. And his dad walked out on him in his life when he was like 2 years old. Never got to see him. The first time he actually saw his dad was 10 years after his dad died, at his dad's gravesite. And he went to the gravesite really to urinate on his dad's site, the gravesite, because his dad wasn't never in his life. He went to his dad's mother's funeral, his grandmother, so he could actually see his dad for the first time. And his dad didn't even attend his own mother's funeral. So
what's this guy's name?
Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer. I'm talking. He's my favorite author. He's written many books. They call him the Doctor of Motivation, but he'll let you know you don't let other people dictate your life. You have to make your mind up on what you're going to do and what you're going to be, and then just go for it. But he says something that was just so pertinent. Even after all that he went through, he says, "Who hasn't gone through something in their childhood or what have you?" And he said, "You know what that's called? So what? We all have gone through something." I know a female black lady that went through all kind of things in her childhood. I'm talking about some things that, and we all know who she is. And she's the first black billionaire.
Oprah Winfrey.
And she went through some things that some other girls be like, "Oh, I'm a stripper now." She didn't go that route.
Her choices.
So it's just a choice that you make. And then even as she pursued that, they were starting to try to tell her what she couldn't do, and you don't look a certain way and all these things. And she didn't let none of that bother her at all. And here it is, Oprah, the age she is now, all those people that tell her she didn't look right or didn't look the way she looks better than all of them.
Want a job from her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They want a job
or a loan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
you make your mind up on what you're going to do, and everybody has gone through something.
Right.
We all have, to certain different degrees, but we all have gone through something. And some people is worse than others.
So you obviously, by the grace of God, you met the Lord. You told us on our last show you truly met the Lord in while incarcerated.
Yes.
And you came to an intimate relationship with
Yes.
Jesus Christ, and He kept your mind.
Yes.
Tell me how He used that mind to orchestrate your graduation while incarcerated.
Well, when I know they sent me the commencement book about the commencement book as far as the graduation. They sent that to me while I was there up at Terre Haute. And first thing I did was went over there to the area where I could find my name, make sure it was in there, and it was. And then at that point, I made me a makeshift hat and all those things. I put it like a sheet over my door so nobody could see what I was doing. And I literally held my own graduation ceremony in my little room. I walked around and everything.
Right.
Yeah, and I just said, hey, thank you, Lord. And when I get out of here, God, I said, I promise you, God, I'm going to make you proud of me.
You celebrated your graduation while incarcerated
by myself.
Man, I want somebody to hear what he just said. He celebrated his graduation. He didn't let that get him down because he knew that he still had something in his hand.
Yes.
That he could use for later.
And I knew that God had me in His hands, and can't nobody take me out of God's hands. You can't take nobody out of God's hands.
That's right.
And so I knew that, and I met my godfather who was there, and he's gone on to be with the Lord, Mr. Latiscus, probably one of the best men I've met in my life. And he had a Walgreens here in Indianapolis, and he happened to do like 18, 19 years, and it just so happened that he lived here in Indianapolis, and he got out 2 weeks after I got out.
Was he black or white?
Yeah, he was a black guy.
He was a black guy.
I'm talking about he was just a phenomenal man. I learned a lot from him. And being there.
Took you under his wing there.
Took me under his wing as my godfather. I'm talking about it was just and when we both got out, we both worked at, it used to be a Howard Johnson's up on 21st and Post. It's now a Home Depot. We worked there at that hotel, he and I both. And I was glad to be working there because and when you're incarcerated, you're getting anywhere from 25 cents to $1 an hour. So when I got out and got my little minimum wage job, man, I was ecstatic. And so all the other workers were upset at he and I. They said, you guys work too hard, you do too much, you're making us look bad. I'm like, no, this is just what we do, be the best at it.
That's powerful, man. I want you to bring up, something else if you could, because as African American men, we face a lot of racism and flat out criminalization because we're black at the hands of many who are white and racist.
Yes.
Talk to the audience just a bit about how some Caucasian people in the justice system helped you.
When I remember when
they didn't have to.
Well, when I say, I don't know if I want to use the word help, but what I can say that what made me realize, is this isn't the end of the world. The judge that sentenced me, and he told me this. He says, young man, I've been doing this for 27 years. And he says, I've never in my life sentenced someone who I felt like that didn't deserve it. And he says, I don't feel like deserves it. He says, but because of the amount of what you had in the guidelines, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to lock you up.
This was the judge in
Illinois.
Yes,
this was the judge in Illinois. Yeah, right. So him just saying that, and he's the judge, just the fact that
he didn't have to say that.
He didn't have to say that, man.
Right.
And just the fact of him saying that, it gave me hope. Exactly. You know what I mean? I'm not that bad just because I made a wrong decision that landed me here. But like I was telling you, in every failure, there's a seed of equivalent or greater benefit. What am I going to find? What am I going to get out of this? What am I going to get us? And so that was one thing that I remember the most. And then there also, with me only having 2.5 years, you're not supposed to get 6 months halfway house. You got time that short, you usually get like 30 days. But they literally gave me 6 months halfway house because they could see in my paperwork how literally I had told the guy who I got the drugs from, I'm only doing this one time. This isn't what I do. All these, don't bring no guns and no dogs around my house. I'm not into all that type of stuff. It's in the paperwork. They could see all those. So they knew that wasn't something that I was just doing. I had it for 2 weeks waiting for him to come get it. And when he came to pick it up, everything that he was wanting to get was still there. It wasn't like I sold someone else or nothing like that. So everything that I got, the DA got all of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a powerful, man. Your testimony is just powerful. what God has done with you, and the best is yet to come.
Yes.
The best is yet to come. You're going to open those 4 or the 5 other stores.
Yes.
I believe that because you have the will and to do it, but moreover, you have the grace of God on your team.
Yes.
I want you to, just take a few moments, if you would, and look into the camera and just kind of talk to young people who now know what 30 years ago happened and how it has helped you become who you are. Because that's not who you are.
Right.
You are what we see.
Yes, exactly.
A well-spoken, powerful, handsome, well-dressed entrepreneur. Say what you want to say. Talk to who you want to talk to in that camera, and tell somebody how they can too. They can have this as well as you.
Yes. First of all, and you've heard me say this many times, and the truth of the matter is this: you have to put God first. That's just a must. And you'll hear people kind of say that and everything else, but then you have to look at the actions. What are you personally doing that's going to put God first? And so how much time are you giving God each and every day? And that's what's important. And about 2 years ago, I actually started making sure every day that it started with me praying and meditating. See, oftentimes we'll pray and we'll meditate, but we don't let God actually speak to us. So when you meditate, God actually gets to speak back to you.
Right.
And that's the key, is when he speaks back to you, where you can listen to what he's saying. So anything that you may have been doing that you shouldn't have been doing, God is going to speak that into your heart, and you'll start doing those things less and less and less. Now you've conquered that demon, and you can move on to other things, but you continue to pray, because life is a struggle. You have to sit back and say to yourself, why is this happening to me? People will say that, but sometimes why is it happening to you? Because you're the person that was supposed to happen to, because maybe you are having this happen to you so that you can go help somebody else. When I sit back and look at it now, this is like the first time publicly that I've actually told people about my incarceration. That was over 30-some years ago.
And I appreciate you being willing to do it here on our show.
But I was wanting to do that because I know it could help somebody. And me going through that, it could help somebody. I would never forget when people would call me and be like, or I would call them, obviously, not them calling me when I was there. But I know what you're going through. Well, if you haven't been locked up, no, you don't. It's an experience. When you experience something, then you can tell somebody else to go through those experiences. So with me being locked up, being a black male, that doesn't mean that you still can't put yourself in a position to where you actually can become a business owner. You can, if you put in your mind and say that's what you want to do, but you got to have faith. And we all have heard of the term, faith without works is dead. So when you have faith, you can't just sit back and think it's just going to drop out the sky. You have to work towards it and go in that direction. And God will make it happen for you, even one way or another.
Even in those dark moments, like you brought up on our last show, Joseph, and what had happened to him before his ascension, before his rise to second in command.
Yes.
Even in a dark situation?
Even in a dark situation, just like Joseph, him going down that dungeon and his brothers coming back through there and everything else, and him being second in command.
Betraying him.
All those things, being jealous of him, all those things, even in dark situations, and the good thing about it, you think about the prodigal son, as dark as that was, when he came back, his father went up to him and says, hey, I'm accepting you with open arms. So this is the same thing. Just like when I went away, I felt like I was eating with the swines when I was locked up.
After his pig pen.
Right. Exactly. But when I got out, God still wrapped his arms around me, protected me, watched over me. And now I'm blessed beyond what I could have ever even imagined. I never thought I could have a store as beautiful as it is. I knew I would have another business.
It is gorgeous.
But I didn't think it would be the way that it is. But God, he made a way, man. I'm the guy that was houses in foreclosure, cars getting repossessed, all kinds of things, making $8 an hour. But thank God for Barack Obama, the Homestead Act. I still got my home, that I've been in for 20 years. But I was close to losing it 4 or 5 times in those 8 years that I actually was working over at Backracks.
Oh, man, listen, yours is a powerful testimony. I love you, brother, and glad to meet you, man. What you do, I want to say this, just before I turn to close out our show. Al gives in ways that he hadn't talked about on this show. He sows into men. He gave several suits with our Kingdom Men's Restoration Men Ministry had a suit drive. He gave several suits. He's given multiple discounts. He sows in the community. He didn't talk about any of those things. He is a giver. That's another component. You should not expect to reap where you have not sown.
Exactly.
You're not. One of the things that Kobe Bryant, one quote from Kobe Bryant as I prepare to close out our show, he said, he was asked the question, Al, how do you feel about people who are lazy or who do not pursue their dreams the way they want to? Because a person who with your kind of drive, it would seem that would bother them. He said, no, they don't bother me. People who don't pursue their dreams or don't accomplish what they want because they don't have the drive I have, it doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when people don't pursue their dreams and have strong drive and expect great things to happen for them. That he said, I think it's really a real tragedy when people expect greatness who haven't put in great work. You put in the work, man, I appreciate glad to have you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Listen, this has been Moves That Matter. I'm excited about the guests that we have. I'm excited about the flow of our show. A lot of that has a lot to do with our producer, the owner of Vision Stream Network, Pastor Brian Hudson. He's a fantastic producer. His show ideas and his care and patience with me is just turning our show into something that I'm very proud of. But moreover, I want to give the glory to God. Moves That Matters is a show that's saying things to people that is life-changing if you will listen. We've had guests on who are medical doctors trying to help your health. We've had people who have come back from being crack addicts and addicted to methamphetamine who are now authors. We've brought people on who have overcome abuse and various types of things. Our show is well-rounded. We're set up to be a voice to a new generation. Listen, you're always making moves in life. This show asks you one question. Why don't you make your moves some moves that matter? I've been your host, Dr. Clyde Posley Jr. I'm delighted to see you every week here at 7:30 on Tuesdays. You can catch reruns of the show or past video from the show on YouTube, on drclydeposley.com, and other social media outlets. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.